Everyone, welcome to the Hair Transplant channel. My name is Joe Tillman, and you're watching the official YouTube channel for hairtransplantmentor.com. And if you're new to the channel, you don't know who I am, I'm currently the only hair transplant YouTuber that's not only a patient, but also has actual clinical and surgical experience, having worked in the industry with some of the greatest hair transplant clinics on the planet for the past 20 years. And yeah, so we're back with part 3 of the interview with Geoff Hamilton, CEO of Stemson Therapeutics by Spencer Coburn, from Global Hair Loss Summit 2021, which was in early December of 2021. And yeah, this is part 3. So it's going to be a wrap up with a little bit more information about the investors and what you can look forward to in the near future. Part 3, let's check it out.
My question to you now is, like, what is your exact vision? I mean, obviously that your vision is going to evolve, but right now, as we speak, what's your vision for bringing this to market? How do you want to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a strategy in place that not only thinks about how to get to market as soon as we possibly can, but how to develop that market over time. And, you know, as you've seen with a lot of other technologies, whether it's computers, cell phones, something else, you know, it kind of starts out at small scale. It can be a bit expensive to begin with. And then over time, you enable better versions of it, more scalable and cost-effective versions of it. So you bring the cost down. And so we think about it in those terms. First is delivering a functional solution that is capable, upon transplantation into the human skin, of generating a hair follicle that's durable and that has a nice, natural look. And so that's the first goal. And so, how we get into, unfortunately, we do have to go through human clinical trials. And
sure.
I only use the word unfortunate just because it takes time and money. Yeah. But I actually do agree that this should require a human trial to ensure that it's safe and effective. So we've got a lot of work ahead of ourselves to get through that clinical trial, or several clinical trials usually. And then at that point, assuming it all works fairly well, we will be able to commercialize. One of the nice aspects about our solution is that very first human trial should give us a really strong indication of whether this is going to work or not. By the very nature of transplanting our cells into human skin, we'll see, did it grow hair or not? Not that we have to have a perfect outcome where every patient and every single transplant we did worked, but if we have a good indication that on a number of these people it worked rather well, we can then stand up confidently in front of you and your audience and say, now this is real. Now it's beyond just some fun, interesting, promising animal results. Now we really have human data, and we're trying to get to that point as quickly as we can. That's really the shiny goal right in front of us, is that first human trial.
Now, when you're looking at that right now, you're looking at that shiny goal, what kind of timeline are you looking at currently?
Yeah, this is what everybody wants to know, including us. Jeez. Yeah. We really don't, we can't know just yet, because the work ahead of us is so novel. The work we're doing and our brave scientists are doing have never been done before. How do you generate a net new hair follicle just with a population of cells and a scaffold? And so we don't know how many of improvements and attempts this will require. What we're really shooting for is that, within the next couple of years, we can finish up the work in our R&D phase where we're confident enough to go into human trials. At that point, we then have a race ahead of us to build out all of the infrastructure and the manufacturing capable compliance systems that the FDA, or if we choose to do the trial in a different country, their equivalent of the FDA, all that infrastructure to create human therapeutic doses does take a time as well, and an investment. And so that's probably another year or two just to build that up, do testing on that is a part of the clinical trial application process, and ultimately get approval from a regulatory body. So, I can't pinpoint any timing. I can tell you we're racing as fast as we can. We know that we probably have at least a couple of years of R&D optimization ahead of us, and then we'll just leap forward as fast as we can from there.
Okay, so say it was here today. How do you picture practitioners utilizing it in their practice? Guys who are currently doing hair transplant surgery. That's what they want to know.
Yeah. So what we are doing is designing a product concept with these cells and scaffolds that will hopefully pleasantly look like a follicular unit, which today's tools and practices are very hopefully familiar with using and working with follicular units. So whether it's a NeoGraft system or an ARTUS robot, a lot of these products that are out there in the hands of these physicians today, we actually envision them using very, very similar or same tools that have just been re-engineered to handle our therapeutic doses and transplant them into the skin. And so, one main concepts we're really looking at is we think because we can produce an enormous supply of therapeutic doses for a patient, it's entirely possible that a patient might come to us and say, I want 20,000 new hair follicles. And we would have to envision, how do you deliver 20,000 units? You wouldn't do that, by hand from a surgeon. So it's likely that we would use something like an automated robot, the ARTUS, to enable that. And so we would have a sort of a loading protocol that the robot would. But
I'm sure you're aware of this, but there's a lot of different robots that would probably be, even less, in my view, less cumbersome when, especially if you're trying to get something that's going to be as exact as you need to inject a solution that's going to create hair follicles.
Right.
So there's a lot of different products out there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to give one example to paint a picture for folks that maybe they're familiar with. But if there are other better known robots, we're not trying to ourselves to one or the other.
Sure.
But essentially, we would look to enable a robotic delivery solution that is within the same line of the types of tools that they use today.
Yeah.
And so that is an engineering challenge that we see as something that can be overcome. And as long as we have a process to keep our cells healthy and alive while they're transported to the clinic and get ready for transplantation, we hope not to force them into a completely different paradigm of transplantation. I would say, in addition to the promise of the technology that we're leveraging, our team is the second critical element. You have to have the right people with the right skill set in place to make this work. And when I say that, I'm not only referring to scientists, but I'm referring to investors. I'm referring to business folks that really understand how to kind of run this as a business and as a product development program, not just a research project. This is not a research project. Even though we're having to do some research, it's all for the purpose of developing a product. And so I think we've put together, the right start and foundation to the team to make people believe that we have a really good shot at actually making technology become something real for hair loss patients.